force of Macedonian troops has just made an audacious nighttime crossing of a tempestuous river. But now an army featuring one of the largest forces of war elephants ever fielded threatens to force them back into the water. Will the Macedonians overcome, or will they be ground into the dust? Tonight, a combined team from the Army and RAF, observed as always by our military experts, find out in Time Commanders. Welcome to the show that brings history's fiercest generals back to life, and ready to take them on tonight are 4 men of arms from the present day. Flight Lieutenant Ken Brockless is an expert in aircrew jungle survival.
All the guys are very up for this, they're very keen, they've read all the books, and they're hoping to put everything they've learned into practice.
Major Hugh Jenkins comes from an army family and has been serving for 20 years.
My top tactic for the battlefield would be to stay calm, make sure I know what's going on, and if there are any elephants in the field, hit them hard.
Major Kieran Potts has seen action and once jumped out of a plane in a kilt.
I think I'll cope all right. I don't think I'll run around with my hands in the air shouting for help.
Captain Gerwin Taff Michael is an army psychiatric nurse.
I'm usually okay under pressure. I might resort to a bit of black humour if things go really bad.
Together as a fighting unit, they are tonight's Time Commanders. Welcome, men. Obviously, there is a certain sort of extra pressure on you guys, given your backgrounds. How are you feeling? Confident?
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
Different forces, but have you ever worked together before?
We all have in different locations.
Hugh, your background, of course, Royal Corps Signal.
That's right, yeah.
So communication is your thing.
I am.
That could prove very useful. What do you think you'll be able to bring to this?
Just means you'll be able to speak to each other.
Yeah.
Make sure that everyone knows exactly what each person's doing.
Kieran, I'm just wondering, you do have the most spectacularly military moustache. So, well, I don't know, it might help.
It might.
I mean, I'd be intimidated. OK, gentlemen, well, good luck. It's time now to meet the Time Commander experts, and keeping a watchful eye over our military men in action tonight are historical analyst Arek Nussbacher, senior lecturer in war studies at the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst, and historical expert Mark Urban. Right, men, listen up, because this next bit's very important. You hardly need me to tell you that. It's the battle briefing, so this bit could make all the difference.
You are going to refight the Battle of Hydaspes. It's the year 326 BCE, and 2 great armies have come together in what is now Pakistan on the banks of the river Hydaspes.
Now, leading his army out onto the great floodplain there of one of those great Indian rivers is none other than King Alexander III of Macedonia. Now, that's Alexander the Great, and he's come to that point after a series of triumphs against the Persians, which have given him control of the whole of what was the Persian Empire.
Opposing Alexander is King Porus, the king of the Pauravas, which is one of the many warring peoples who were then living in and around the Punjab north of the Hindu Kush. The 2 armies have faced each other across the river Hydaspes for about 2 weeks at this point. The river itself dominates the area you're looking at. It's got marshy ground on either bank, but as you see off to either side, there are these well-drained, fertile plains that are ideal for the kind of combined infantry and cavalry work that Alexander is so good at.
Now, the river is a huge obstacle, but to remind you of the Pat Sandhurst formula, an obstacle isn't an obstacle unless it's defended. And of course, that's what the Indians under King Porus are trying to do. They're trying to defend the river line, but they don't know where Alexander's going to cross. In the end, he hits on a psychological stratagem, which is to cause a lot of noisy washing up of pots and pans in the main Macedonian camp, to establish a routine there, and then one night, while the usual routine is going on, to take most of his force and do a night march and find a point on the river that isn't defended. Now, team, you have got to be Alexander the Great, one of the towering figures in military history. No pressure there, then. And what Alexander's got is a pretty well-trained army, and the key shock arm for him are the so-called companion cavalry, the nobles who've come with him all the way through Persia, across Asia, and form not only an elite bodyguard, but a shock arm. And they've been filled out with sort of minor Persian princes and other people who've been brought into his army from the new empire.
Alexander has got a large force of heavy infantry, and they're armed with good long pikes. They fight in a very tight formation, and as long as that formation stays together, they are able to push anyone else around the field. And these heavy infantry are also supported by light infantry. And the light infantry includes archers and javelin throwers. And there are also horse archers, and all of these light forces are capable of forming the connective tissue between the heavy infantry and the cavalry.
The key thing for King Porus is his war elephants, and he's got hundreds of them. And the way they used these was to have them in a line with sufficient space between them for other troops to come in and out. They act almost as a series of mobile battlements, so they really are quite a difficult thing to defeat. And that really emphasises the point about not letting yourself get hemmed into the bridgehead and pushing out and dominating the battlefield.
So our combined forces team are walking in the illustrious sandals of Alexander the Great. How do you feel about that then, chaps?
There's a little bit of pressure.
Just a bit. Well, look, this is an important bit now because you do get to ask a couple of questions.
My question concerns the state of mind of the commander. Is Porus likely to be audacious, impatient, or indeed cautious?
Porus wants to have it both ways. He's going to keep his main force at the original Macedonian position, facing Craterus across the river, but he's going to detach a force that you're going to get to deal with that are going to try to delay you and canalize you to force you to fight his battle.
Next question.
Okay, my question's about the troops. What are they like? They've been sitting there waiting for some action for a long period of time. Are they itching? Are they going to be ready to get into the fight?
The enemy troops are, by and large, dragged into this by their generals. Some of them are very, very good. You can expect the elephant drivers to be the best elephant drivers in India, but a lot of these guys have been dragged to the party by their petty kings up there in the mountain country.
OK, that's your lot. No more information. I'm afraid I must cut off that source there. Now we come to the subject of generals. And I've been looking forward to this bit particularly because obviously only 2 of you are going to be generals, 2 of you will be fighting as captains. So now is when the experts, based on your profiles, make that decision.
There's an armchair general in all of us, and it's a case of, are you a Napoleon or are you a General Melchett? I'm hoping I'm going to be a Napoleon.
Okay, then. Ken, you will be a general.
Great.
Kieran, you walked in here a major, but now you are a captain.
Demotion.
Get a win. You will also be a general.
And you will be a captain.
Great.
If I had to give one word for our team, calm. We're trained, and hopefully that'll pay dividends in the game.